Welcome back to our first show here in 2018. It's great to be back. Now, 2017 was a tough year. We have hurricanes, earthquakes, huge fires, mudslides, and even floods of biblical proportions. Now, if you watch the news, you would realize that it was all our fault. We drove too many miles in our SUVs, we ate too many steaks made from flatulating heifers, and we even dared to use light bulbs that cost under $60 to light up our homes. Man, especially lighter-skinned Anglo man, clinging to his God, guns, and religion, just messes up everything. Just a little bit of encouragement from Donald Trump, and he burns down half of California, and even causes major mud buildup in Oprah's multi-million-dollar backyard. Now, according to the media, man is responsible for everything bad. There are no such things as natural disasters or natural changes. They're all man-made disasters. Do we really have this much control over our world? Now, I must admit, last week I watched the college football national championship, and I was worried about a huge disaster. Alabama was losing badly in the first half. Now, to remedy this situation, I did switch shirts, pants, and viewing positions. In the second half, due to my changes, the Crimson Tide turned the game around and rolled to victory, capped off with a spectacular catch in overtime. You're welcome. Listen, if Al Gore can say that my pet Cal Purdy stomach issue is responsible for forest fires and tsunamis, my standing on one foot during overtime could have been the catalyst to my team's come-from-behind victory, right?
That's what they're saying.
Right, I've heard that. Or is God telling us that we are all acting like control freaks? Maybe we can't regulate the weather. Maybe Nick Saban switching to a true freshman quarterback was more impactful to the victory than my twister-like body positioning in the second half. Maybe. Is it possible that we are not in control? Maybe God is really the puppet master here. Now that should really scare the heck out of you lefties out there that refuse to cling to your God and your religion.
Wow.
Don't worry, gals, guys, whatever. You still have time to change. Let's see if the rabbi here can help you out today on this episode of Jeff and the Rabbi.
Wow. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So here we are. By the way, we're freezing ourselves right here in Atlanta, Georgia, which is very unaccustomed to the number of below freezing days that we've had so far this year. I mean, I think it started like in the very end of December.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty much steady all the way through, like below freezing temperatures, certainly overnight, and some days it hasn't gotten above freezing.
Long sleeve shirt on.
Unbelievable. People wearing long underwear in Atlanta, Georgia.
Never seen this.
Right. Of course, we all know that that's because of, it used to be global warming, but now it's climate change and therefore climate fluctuation.
Because if it's going to be warm somewhere else, it's got to be cold here.
Right.
I've heard that somewhere in CNN. But yeah.
Right. Now, I have a different take on the weather.
I figured.
An entire different take on the weather. If you take a look at the Torah, which is generally why I'm here, so if you take a look at the Torah, every time God has a statement to make, and every time, almost every time, he does it with the weather.
That's a good point.
Where is the first big time God shows up in the Torah to send a message to the entire world?
Which one? Beside his creation, you may have that.
Right after creation, the flood.
Sure, the flood comes right after.
Flood, huge flood, okay, floods out the world. That's what God does. And we see later on Abraham, and as well as Jacob, Isaac and Jacob, all famine.
Right.
Famine struck in the land, okay. Then, of course, we get down to Egypt, and that brings us to the portions of the Torah that are being read by Jews during these weeks, and that is the story of the Exodus from Egypt. And of course, the story of the Exodus from Egypt contains in it the story of the 10 plagues.
Absolutely.
And lo and behold, what do you got with the 10 plagues? They're affecting the river, and the hail coming down, and this goes dark, and all this kind of stuff, and all the animals are all out of control. There's
wait. So that was not global warming.
Yeah, I wonder what was going on. How do you like that? There was fluctuations in weather, and even though maybe people were like burning more fires or something in those days. On
I
top
got
of
to
the
tell my
pyramids.
rabbi, she'll be very upset about this.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
Right, on top of the pyramids or something, you know?
Right.
The bottom line is that the weather seems to be God's choice manner of expression. When he wants to get the whole world to listen up and to pay attention, he does it through the weather, which affects lots of people. Now, one of the things that we, in our contemporary society, we like everything to be the way we like it. And we want it when we want it, how we want it, where we want it.
True.
You know, how many people will wait if a video is not downloading within 2 seconds? How many people will wait to watch that video? I mean, there is a figure, by the way, there's an industry figure of like how long people will wait, but it's infinitesimally small.
Absolutely. No, it's true.
If you hit play and it doesn't come up within a couple of seconds, people just move on.
I
They
say
don't want it.
actually, when you're creating a website, if the person has to wait more than 2.5 seconds for the first load, he's gone. You lose, I think it's maybe 30% then and another 40% on another 2 seconds, and they're gone off the website.
Because I press the button, I want it.
Right? Makes sense?
Not in 3 seconds. I want it in under 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, that's true.
3 seconds is like way beyond. I have no patience for this. No patience for this. And certainly, if something else that comes along and disrupts my life and messes me up, then I am distraught. And if I'm really messed up, I want everyone to fix it. I need everyone to pitch in and fix this. This is wrong. This shouldn't have happened. And what shouldn't have happened? This mudslide, which just took up my house, which is a horrible thing. Or this flood, or this whatever it might be. It is a huge disaster. And we are very upset. We don't want to contend with these things. We try to figure out ways to avoid them, to prevent them, and so on and so forth. And lo and behold, after all this time, we still do not seem to be able to prevent any of these disasters from happening.
Yeah, but your problem is not just that we want to prevent them, we have to blame somebody.
That's right.
That's an issue.
Right, and of course, right, we are, and that's why we are going to prevent it all. Of course, we're going to cut the carbon emissions, and then we won't have any of these
Right.
natural disasters anymore, right? That is what we think that we're going to accomplish. But God's got a different think. What God does, it seems from the Torah, his MO, is to use natural disasters and upheavals to express himself and to remind us all that he is there. I'll give you a little example. We didn't notice it as much, but there was a big snowstorm hit New York the weekend before last.
Yep.
Knocked out the airports in the New York metro area.
Right.
Okay? Some months earlier, upon finding out that my son was going to be getting married in Lakewood, New Jersey last week.
Mazel tov, by the way.
Thank you. So, of course, I've got a lot of family who are scattered all over the place, and it is, of course, my responsibility to get all of them, my responsibility and my credit card, to get
Yes.
all of them to the right place at the right time. So, I booked all the tickets, and everyone gave me all their information and all their conditions and all their, this is going to be coming from
Is
here.
this part of the whole rabbi thing? Do you learn this? That you,
Yeah, right.
you have to take care of everybody?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I should have literally had headphones on,
Right.
and at the, it should have been a call center.
Right.
So I got everyone's information. People are coming from Israel, people are coming from West, people are coming from Canada, Israel, out West, all different places. Everyone's got to come. And guess what? The plans called for everyone to come through the New York metro area, through one of the New York metro airports. And they're all supposed to come in and come out and back in and back out, and then, And I had bought all the tickets and arranged all the schedules, and at one point, one of my major jobs, and it was a thing of beauty, my major job over the vacation at the end of December was to lay out a big spreadsheet with everyone's travel plans and the coordination and the pickups and people some were staying over and some had to coordinate and when they change, transfer of airports and all this stuff.
Amazing.
And I made this beautiful spreadsheet. I spent a lot of time on it, and it all worked out, and I planned it all perfectly. You know how much of that ended up working out the way?
Imagine.
Like nearly zero. Nearly zero of all the flights and all the confirmation numbers and all the transfers and all the pickups and all the, the best one was, I knew that one group was coming in from Israel was not going to be able to get out of New York to come to Atlanta for the weekend, which that was part of the plan. But I had someone in New York who's going to pick them up and house them overnight. I'm at the Atlanta airport picking up someone who luckily got rerouted in Europe straight to Atlanta.
Wow.
When I pick up the phone, they say, I'm here at the JFK in New York, and it says that the plane that your kids are on is going to Chicago. Chicago?
That's right around the corner from Atlanta, isn't it?
It's Chicago.
Right.
Like, what's going on? What are you going to do in Chicago? Right? So as everything out the window, totally out the window. Why? Because God took about that much snow.
Right.
Really, it wasn't really about much more than that. About that much snow, and in about a period of 12 hours, he sprinkled it over New York. So I got smart. I rerouted people, and I got tickets from Philadelphia.
Wow. Okay. There you go.
And my daughter was waiting for her cab to pick her up in New Jersey and take her to Philadelphia when the text came through. Philadelphia airport closed. Flights canceled. So the second round of rerouting everyone on the whole spreadsheet, that also was a failure.
Wow.
Okay? Why? Because God decided to step in and to send me a message. He said, remember, it's good that you tried, and it's good that you do what you do.
Very interesting.
However, you're not in control. You can make
Wow.
your plans, and there's a great old Yiddish phrase, and it says as follows: man plans and God laughs.
I like that. And it makes sense.
Man plans, because we make all these plans, and God laughs. He says,
So you didn't blame anybody else? You think it wasn't because I was burning my SUV, right? You didn't blame any? You didn't get on the news and talk about it?
So here's what happened. I tried to control the situation.
Right.
When it started falling apart
How'd that
all
work
around me.
out?
And I tried, and I tried, and I got on the phone, and I had like different airlines on the phone, and I'm like buying this ticket and canceling that ticket. I'm gonna make it like come through. And at a certain point, I finally said, you know what? This is bigger than all of us. It's going to happen. And in the end, we're the only people that actually ended up coming.
Right.
The ones who went to Chicago.
And they made it from Chicago there. Wow.
I was able to get them from Chicago here.
Wow.
Everyone else got
Wow.
like, who knows where they were. But, the ones that went to Chicago, which was the craziest thing in the world, they managed to get here.
But your son got married.
The son got
So
married.
that worked.
Right. Luckily, I had a feeling. He actually called me. He was in Washington. He said, I'm going up to New York because I'm going to a wedding in New York. This was Thursday night. I said, no, you're not going to New York. I'm buying a ticket for you coming right to Atlanta. Otherwise, you're never going to be here.
You're never going to make it.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
So the whole thing is, this is what God does. So God says, I'll do a little snow. I mean, how much is 6 inches of snow for God,
That's easy.
A little bit of snow. He said, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to turn everything upside down. Okay, let's go to another episode.
So wait, you didn't like today get so much anxiety that you had to take pills and you had to do whatever?
No, because people that realize that I have a default position, and it's only a question of how quickly do I get back to it. Because I get out of it,
That's amazing.
I get into my control mode.
That's me.
I try to control it,
There I am.
right? But I know all along that I'm not in control. No, when I turn loose and get back to you're not in control, but guess what? It's not pandemonium. He's in control. And I say, there is a reason why this is happening. Every person, the one that went to Chicago, because God wanted him in Chicago. And the one that changed in Amsterdam, because God wanted him to change in Amsterdam. And the one that is not going to make it, God didn't want him to be here.
Wow.
They're not supposed to be here. Proof, God prevented them from being here. So that's the way. So I can go to bed at night and say, this is what was supposed to happen.
Amazing.
And I don't have to rip myself to shreds and go, oh, these people that are burning their fossil fuels or whatever, or blame someone or do something and try to make a commission to
Right.
study the vacation.
Right.
It doesn't mean I don't try. It doesn't mean I didn't plan. I didn't buy all those plane tickets. It means that
In the
that
long
when
run.
it collapses, the
Right.
quicker I can get out of my control mode back to the God control mode, the happier, the quicker I will be happy.
You might be like saving I don't know how much money you'll be saving people on anxiety medicine that people take every day because we think we're in control.
Yeah.
And when we think we're in control and we lose control, we can't handle it.
Yeah, I'll give you another one. Okay, we all know that there's some big hurricanes in the world, and they really caused some huge disruption. We in Atlanta got to see it a little bit closer because all the refugees from Florida came up to Atlanta and, turned the whole state upside down and everything. And people, we had guests, we put up guests and everything like that. Okay? A family, two families, a brother and a sister, both married with their own families, both ended up in Atlanta. One of them stayed in one neighborhood. For some reason or another, I forgot the exact freaky details. One of them went to another neighborhood and ended up staying in a family that they never met before, they didn't know anything about. They had a wonderful weekend with this family. They got to be great friends. Okay? The family that they stayed at has a daughter who is looking to get married.
Okay.
The family that stayed with that family said, "We know a guy." They're engaged.
That's amazing.
It never
That's
would have
right.
happened. And
That's a
any
very
other
good point.
circumstances, there's no way that guy, no way. Yeah.
Right.
It was unlikely.
So no matter what, that was going to happen one way or another, and
right. It's very unlikely
hurricane facilitated.
otherwise that this guy was going to meet this
Right.
girl. But God said, okay, I'm going to do a hurricane. Now, he didn't just say, I'm going to do a hurricane. He certainly didn't, I don't believe. I mean, what do I know? I don't believe he did a whole hurricane just so
Yeah,
this girl
right.
could get me. That would be a little hard for me to
There's a lot
believe.
of things you can do
But,
here.
Dave, first of all, it's his world that he can run it how he
Right.
wants.
Right.
But God said, okay, we're going to do the hurricane. I have probably 5 million reasons that I'm going to do this hurricane, and the way I'm going to do it is, so I'm going to accomplish all of my goals all at once. So that girl's going to get engaged to that guy, and this family is going to lose their house, and this family is going to become wealthy, and this family is going to get, and on. And every single person, everyone's going to, this people have to meet this people, and on and on and on. He had all figured out because he is infinitely wise. That's my worldview. That's how I look at life. And that's how, when we see tragedy, and I see tragedy, natural disasters, you don't just say, well, what about these poor people who are suffering? When you see the poor people who are suffering, that's because God said, and by the way, you, mister, who see that people suffering, I did this so that you could get in there and help these people out so they don't suffer so much. That's your job, too. So this is part of it. Everyone has their experience. If that person needs to have some suffering, you need to help alleviate that suffering.
It's an amazing way to look at things, and I agree with you. The problem is, it always gets you to the point where does my free will and my direction and what I'm supposed to, my purpose, stop to where God starts. I mean, how far do I go? Listen, I can just sit back right now and say, okay, I'm not gonna do anything today. God's got me covered.
Right.
Or am I here? I'm supposed to do something to a certain point. God's got me doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and that's all I can do. And how do I know where that point is?
So you've got to try your best. But there are certain things, certain factors, and that's why I wanted to talk about the weather,
Right.
because the weather is the best one.
Right. Can't get
Because everyone said no one can do anything about the weather. So that one's crystal clear. There are other things that we think that we can control, maybe your coworker or whatever it is.
Right.
But the weather, everyone knows you can't control. So when that's happening, so this is clearly God intervening. Now, what does God want me to do? He wants me to try my best. Sometimes he wants me to accept that the plans that I have made are out the window. Maybe he wants me to divert my attention from something I was working on to something he wants me to work on, like this natural disaster. Maybe, those people that were in Florida, maybe they were working on something. I mean, they had a life, I presume. They were doing things. They were, they were in the middle of everything. All of a sudden they got uprooted and they got sent to Atlanta. Well, maybe what God is saying is, I didn't want you working on that right now. Right now I want you to find a husband for that girl.
That's true. I got you.
And so she said, so this lady who had the sense to say, well, I guess that's why we're here. Let's keep our eyes
But
open.
if that family hadn't said, you know what, I think I'm going to be nice enough and I'm going to take in these
That's right.
refugees, then that wouldn't have happened. So
That's right. That's
there's
right.
a lot of things.
So all of this is all interrelated. The bottom line of it all is that rather than trying to control factors around us, we should try to control ourselves, which means get as quickly as you can to acceptance of things that are beyond your control and react as appropriately as possible, knowing all the while and feeling a sense of internal calm, knowing that there's a purpose in all this. It's not random, it's not just craziness, and we don't want to just try to prevent it from happening. We want to try to live with it, in it,
Right.
and react properly. Now, if we can prevent it from happening, fine. I mean, let's say if someone said to me that, I'm living in a floodplain, maybe I should move to somewhere else, that wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world.
Good call. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I could
So
understand
you
that.
do what you can do. Move out of the floodplain. Don't,
Right.
whatever.
Right, or whatever you can. I mean, if you need to, maybe you want to put your house up on stilts, okay, put your house up on stilts if you think that'll do it. I don't know. But everyone's got to realize the storm hits New York. How could that be? How could they have shut down those airports? It was stupid. They could have kept it going. They could have kept it open anyway. Why did all this happen? Oh, why? Don't worry about why. God has it all figured out why. In the meantime, what? What should I do? How should I react? Am I going to get upset, start throwing dishes around and have a temper tantrum?
Well, so you're saying that when the Alabama field goal kicker, with 3 seconds left in the game, shanked the ball left, I shouldn't have gone crazy and thrown a lot of things around and said things that are really, really, really bad, because I should have known that when we got into overtime, the freshman quarterback was going to hit a guy in the end zone? Are you saying that?
Yes. Listen, this is like I'm from Minnesota. There's 25 seconds left. You gotta get. Oh, of course, it's all done for. No, who knows what could be? God can make anything happen if He wants.
So I should have been kind. Yeah, I gotta listen to this. As I always say in the military plans, you have the most brilliant military plan that's ever been written until the first shot's fired.
Right.
So that's kind of how it is
Right.
here.
As a matter of fact, if there was Machiavelli, who's famous for all of his machinations. One of his big pieces of advice to the prince is try as much as possible to avoid war, because once war breaks out, it's so out of control.
Nothing you can do.
Like if you can move your machinations, but do whatever you can to avoid war, because it's just so unpredictable. You never really know what will happen once war breaks out.
It pretty much sounds like pretty much every day. You don't know what's going to happen once you get into the end. So you're saying, all right, God's got it. Whether it works out the way you want it to or not, it's working out the correct way.
Right.
Just saying.
Right. Now, if it's true that we can take actions to improve our circumstances and the world and all that, yeah, we should. But believe me, when God wants to intrude, He will intrude. If we figure out some way to stop hurricanes from happening, so God will make hurricanes,
You're right. Good point.
Ultimately, we should do as much as we can do, but we always have to realize that God can intrude at any time, in any place, in any way, localized way, in a global way, and He can intrude. And when He does, He's got it under control. He just wants to know how quickly you will be able to embrace that and react properly.
Wow. So the sad thing is here, I went from September to January without washing that crimson shirt, and I could have done that the whole time. Probably smelled a little
Probably could
fresher
have.
between the football games.
And when you
Wow.
read the 10 plagues,
Right.
the 10 plagues is like the granddaddy of all
That
that.
is.
That's what the 10 plagues is all here to teach us. The 10 plagues is He took the world that everyone knew and He turned it upside down.
Yeah, He did.
And Pharaoh struggled with that. Pharaoh took him a long time to knuckle under. You would think, and I would think, all you have to do is the first one. If you turn the river into blood, like, okay, Moshe,
None.
what do you want? What do you want? But Pharaoh struggled. And Pharaoh seems like an idiot, like a real nincompoop.
Right.
Don't you get it?
Maybe that's us.
But the truth is,
That's
they
us.
wrote that story because Pharaoh wasn't such an idiot.
No.
Pharaoh was every man.
I mean, we feel like we've got it in tomorrow. We're back at it again. You know,
That's
our
right.
heart gets hardened. We get back in the thing again. Ah, that wasn't God. It was bad weather. It was a
Right.
hurricane. It was Al Gore.
The
It was
float,
whatever.
right? It just read her apart. If they hadn't have done this, they would have done that. They
That's a
could have.
good point.
If they had only opened that switch or turned on
Right.
that, everything would have been okay.
Right.
You know, and then they're right back at it. Okay, plague number 2.
And we go through the same
3,
thing again. Wow.
4, 5. I mean, that's what the story is
Wow.
all about.
Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, so I think we should all probably sleep a little easier now. Listen, we do what we can do,
Should, right?
but we only have so much control here.
That's
And
right.
That's it. God's got us. He's got our backs. He's got our fronts.
That's
On the
right.
Lord. All right. Well, God willing, we will be back next week with another episode of Jeff and the Rabbi.
God willing, yeah.